Apple's huge WWDC event is coming in just over a month, and it looks like recent leak confirmations show that we're getting even more than we thought before, with some brand new leaks pointing at some very exciting software changes as well, so let's jump right into it. Now, of course, the news comes from Mark Gurman, the most reliable Apple leaker out there, and he just posted a new edition of his Power On newsletter detailing exactly what to expect at WWDC, including the new VR headset, which will be called the Reality Headset, XROS, which is the operating system for that, some new Macs, revamped WatchOS, and more. And specifically, he has some details on the VR headset, which is Apple's gonna be focusing on sports, gaming, and fitness apps, and I'm gonna get into more detail on that in just a minute, but I do wanna mention that he did give us some specifics on which Macs are coming, including the 15-inch MacBook Air, and he even detailed the resolution and other things we should expect, including the chip and other new Macs that are coming, and I'll definitely jump into that. But first, I want to talk about the big WatchOS redesign, because this is going to be WatchOS 10, which usually Apple does big redesigns for the 10-year anniversary of a certain product or OS. So this is going to feature a new home screen layout with apparently folders, so that's going to be exciting. And this leak actually comes from a Twitter account, Analyst941, and we don't really know how reliable this guy is, and specifically Mark Gurman even said many of the details I've seen from this account are not true, so take that specific leak with a grain of salt, but Mark Gurman does say that there is going to be some new features with WatchOS 10. Now, moving on to the VR headset, just yesterday he gave us a massive leak for what to expect with the new Reality headset. Specifically, he says Apple's working on an arsenal of new apps and services for the headset. So Apple is going all out. They're gonna try to blow everybody away, including collaboration tools, sports viewing, which means basically watching real live sports games in the headset with the super high quality immersive display being right in front of your eyes, basically even better than a movie theater experience. With the headset on, he also specified a gaming push, which I have more details on from a different leaker, and workouts in VR, which I think is awesome because with the Quest 2 from Meta or Oculus, a lot of people love the workouts in VR, like Beat Saber basically being a really cool workout. He also said there would be meditation, almost like some kind of yoga app that you can do, and even supporting eye scanning, which might basically track where your eyes are looking and enable certain features that way. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is that he says that new versions of Apple's existing iPad features will come to the VR headset. He even said a big part of the effort is adapting iPad apps for the new headset, which blends virtual and augmented reality. So right out of the gate, users will be able to access millions of existing apps from third-party developers via a new 3D interface. Basically, it's almost like a Rosetta 2, but for the VR headset, allowing tons of apps and games to be instantly available on the VR headset. That is absolutely amazing. The only downside is that he says it'll be roughly $3,000, and while it will debut at WWDC, it's gonna be going on sale months later, probably later in the fall. Now, I actually spoke to someone on Twitter, Hachi the Otter, who says he knows some insider information. Now, I can't confirm any of his details, so take it with a grain of salt, but he says that Apple is redesigning their entire software teams, and they finished building a full-scale Apple Games development section. So I asked him, does that mean a dedicated AAA gaming studio? He said, inside of Apple, yeah, they are going all in. So basically, Apple's making their own game studio. Just like they have Apple TV Plus, where they make their own shows and movies, they're literally making their own AAA games with their own gaming studio. Going even further, he said that Apple remodeled their entire engineering team lineups to build games with Unity and Unreal Engine. So basically, they're finally doing a big gaming push, and he said a lot of it is mixed with VROS and cross-platform gaming. So basically, people with the VR headset, we'll be able to play with people with other Apple products. So let's say you have an iPad, iPhone, Mac, they can all cross-play at the same time. So if you choose to buy Apple's VR headset, you're not going to be lonely. There's going to be a huge amount of people to play with right off the bat. But the beautiful thing about this is that because Apple has switched to metal across all products, including the Mac, gaming developers can produce a game just one time, build it once, and then they can tweak it to support every single Apple platform, including VR. And he says the integration of VROS in the headset to macOS and iPadOS and iOS is just unreal. If they get the stuff working right that was talked about, it's going to be mind-blowing. So he says the updates to macOS 13 and iOS 17 are going to be enormous for this integration. So because of all of that, I'm actually even more excited about the VR headset than I was just a couple of weeks ago. I think if everything works well with cross-platform gaming and everything else, it could actually be a very cool product. Now let's move on to the Macs that we should expect, and the one we should expect for sure is the 15-inch MacBook Air, which Mark Gurman has confirmed is likely coming at WWDC. However, it might not come with an M3 chip. He says due to developer logs, it's looking like it's coming with an M2 with the same 8-core CPU and 10-core GPU layout and 8 gigs of RAM. He even said that the M3 chips are coming later, which hints at a fall release date for M3. And the interesting thing is all of Mark Gurman's comments are matching up to what Ross Young is saying about a 15-inch MacBook Air coming soon, as soon as WWDC, with the component production underway. And all of that also agrees with what Digitimes said back in February, that the 15-inch MacBook Air will have an M2 chip. And finally, even another source right here, Dan Neistat, shared that Apple has delayed plans to introduce the M3 processor based on TSMC's 3nm technology in MacBooks, and will instead use the M2 for the 15-inch, according to a media report, saying that 3nm is really going to be helping TSMC's revenue in the third quarter, which starts in the fall. And if you needed another source, we have Hatchie the Tech Otter, who said that the 24-inch iMac is apparently going to be coming with the M2 chip as a basic update. He says the first products coming with M3 are going to be the 13-inch MacBook Air and 13-inch MacBook Pro. No other Macs are getting the M3 this year, so I asked him, does the 15-inch get the M2? He says it most likely will. If it gets the M3, he will be shocked. And he even said that right now, Apple has a massive surplus of M2 chips, and they need to find ways to use them. And that actually matches up to the report that we had, that Apple completely stopped M2 chip production in January and February because of slow M2 Mac sales. And when they resumed in March, they resumed at only 50% of production, showing that they do have a surplus of M2 chips. And apparently, it's so bad that this guy on Twitter says he wouldn't be surprised if all of the iPads got M2 chips, because the M2 did not sell anywhere near the M1 did. So if you might ask, why would the 15-inch get the M2 chip? There you go. They have too many of the M2 chips and they need to sell them. And the 15-inch MacBook Air is the perfect hype machine to do just that. And the crazy thing is, back in February, Hachi the Tech Otter said that the 24-inch iMac update would be mainly the M2 chip, not the M3 like we were expecting, that Apple would skip the M2, but they probably will get the M2 chip, maybe even the M2 Pro, because Apple's not selling enough of them. So we might even get an M2 iMac at WWDC, which would be a very disappointing update, but I personally hope they wait until the M3. And the interesting thing is, Mark Gurman did say that the new iMac is reportedly in advanced stages of development, and he says it likely won't come until at least the end of the year, likely with the M3 chip. So hopefully that's what Apple does. And in my opinion, if the M3 chip comes, it has to come in the MacBook Air first before the iMac, which I think the iMac would get delayed by about 6 months. So right here we have another article saying that the M3 powered MacBook Air is unlikely to debut at WWDC, instead coming sometime in the third quarter, and that comes from this leak right here from Economic Daily News saying that the 3nm chip has a delay and the new MacBook Air 15-inch will come with the old M2 chip. And that basically confirms that the 3nm M3 chip is only going to be coming until after the 3nm A17 chip later this year. So for now, if we get any Macs at WWDC, they're going to be based on the M2 chip or the M2 family of chips in the case that we do get the Mac Pro. So with that said, hopefully I didn't disappoint too many of you with the 15-inch coming with the M2 chip, but you let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Click the circle button to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching it, and we'll see you in the next video.